What is up, college lacrosse fans? You are watching another episode of the LaxFactor podcast. This week was the lacrosse quarterfinals, the best lacrosse you're going to see all year because we have nothing but the cream of the crop left. So we're going to get into what happened in all of those games. Before I do, as always, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Liking the video, subscribing to the video, it'll help us do better over time. It's the best way to support us. If you want to pick up some swag, you can see pictures of the swag over here. You can go to LaxFactor.com. You can get yourself some t-shirts, coffee mugs, all sorts of stuff. We have things like these Rampage lacrosse shorts there, all sorts of cool t-shirts and other things. So do that. I digress. Actually, hold on. One more thing. I forgot. If you want to be entered to win the America, fuck yeah, penny here, just comment down below. Say any comment about the game or about the upcoming Memorial Day weekend lacrosse action. Any legitimate comment will get you entered to win this jersey, which we'll do the drawing for on Thursday and announce the winner on Thursday's preview show. I digress. Let's get into this. The LaxFactor Podcast. Okay, so the first game of the weekend, it was Maryland against Virginia. A crazy game, an overtime game. 3 of the 4 games this weekend went into overtime and would be classified as crazy. The Maryland-Virginia game, no different. Keys initially for Maryland to win this game, they pretty much had to play perfect. They had to win the face-off battle. They had to play solid defense. They did all of those things. They played perfect for 55 minutes just about. At the face-off dot, P.D. LaSala of Virginia, he murked Maryland. He goes 17 to 25 for him, 19 of 28 for UVA total. So Maryland, they held their own initially, but over the fourth quarter, they lost 7 to 1 in terms of faceoffs over the course of that fourth quarter, and that cost them heavily as part of Virginia's comeback. With the ground ball battle between the boxes, once again, they did well. Maryland did well against UVA for 55 minutes, and that fourth quarter, the last 8 minutes, 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, Maryland kind of fell apart, and it went downhill from there. They did win the turnover battle. That just didn't matter, but Maryland won that turnover battle 18-14 with UVA. They outshot UVA in terms of actual shots on cage for 3 quarters, but got outshot 7-2 over the course of the fourth in terms of shots on goal. So that's huge. So they and then we all know about the bad call. We all know what happened with that. I'm not even going to get into that. I already did a video about that you can check out earlier about the bad call. But I mean, the reality here, Maryland had a 12-7 lead with 9:23 left in the fourth when Ryan Conrad scored a man-up goal to get Virginia back to within 4. So that was a huge turning point in this game, and Maryland held. They continue to hold. They held a 12-8 lead right up to the 3:25 mark, where Ryan Conrad scored again to make it 12-9, and then the wheels fell off from there. 3:25, Conrad scores to make it 12-9. 20 seconds later, Laviano scores 12-10, and then we go 24 seconds later, Ryan Conrad again, 12-11 with 2:41 left, and then Michael Kraus scores the goal that wasn't with 1:14 remaining, which tied it up. You guys know the rest. But game goes into overtime, and Kraus to Moore. That is the ball game in overtime. Surprises? One of the things I thought was I felt like Maryland was going to have a harder time clearing the ball, and they didn't. UVA's ride is brutal, and Maryland did a pretty good job. That was one of the reasons they hung in this game. They did a really good job clearing the ball. They went 20 of 24. I think they only failed to clear 1 clear per quarter. And it wasn't like the clears all came at the end where they failed them. They only failed 1 clear over the course of the fourth, I think, even. Another surprise was UVA murking Maryland as badly as they did at the faceoff dot. I did not expect for LaSala to just wreck Maryland and for UVA as a team to wreck Maryland at the faceoff dot. I thought that Henningsen and Shockey were going to be able to hold their own in that battle, and they did not. And then another surprise was Maryland, despite being outshot 43-27, they put 18 shots on cage to UVA's 22 shots on cage. So even though they got outshot in terms of the quality shots, they only got outshot by 4 shots, and they were actually a little bit more efficient in that regard in terms of shooting percentage. Turning points in the game as we rip through here. Laviano scored a goal from Kraus with 43 seconds left in the first quarter. That was Maryland's first defensive breakdown. Then Laviano from Conrad with 5 seconds left in the second. That was another big breakdown. They gave up 3 goals over 44 seconds in the fourth quarter. That was a deal breaker. So a lot of just the wheels coming off for Maryland at key points at the end of the game, at the end of quarters, at the end of the game. Don't blame the officials, though. As we said in another video, don't blame the officials. They had a 5-goal lead in the fourth. They blew it. They had a 4-goal lead with under 3 minutes to play. They blew it. Players of the game, Ryan Conrad, senior year, his, could have been his last game, but it wasn't. He goes 4 goals and assists. Michael Krause, a goal and 4 assists. Laviano, 3 goals. Bernhardt, 4 and 1. So Bernhardt for Maryland goes 4 and 1. He had an excellent game. Anthony DeMeo, 4 goals. Wisnauskas, 2 and 2, and Danny Dolan, 9 saves. Dolan, one of my keys in the preview show on Thursday was that Dolan had to have 15 saves to win this game. He didn't. 9 saves. He played terrible down the stretch in the fourth quarter. That did not help Maryland at all. It was not the why they lost, but it didn't help. In closing, I think that the bad calls, I think they kind of canceled each other out. You could make the argument Maryland lost the bad call battle 2-1, but we're not even going to talk about the bad goal call here, since we already did. If you want to see me talk about and cuss about the bad goal call, go back and watch a video that I put out Sunday morning early here. You can see that on the YouTube. I'll put a link to it up here if I remember to also. And then key for UVA in the next round, they're going to need more Dox Aitken. Aitken was quiet. What did he finish with here? I think Aitken only had 2 goals, or maybe he was 1 and 1 on the day. They need more Dox Aitken. I didn't hear his name nearly enough. He did scrap quite a bit between the boxes, picked up some ground balls, but I want to see him do a little bit more offensively, and I think they'll need that in this upcoming week against Duke. But otherwise, it was an incredible game. And then that takes us into the next incredible game, bonkers game that we had on Saturday. Notre Dame, the 7 seed Notre Dame against the 2 seed Duke. Another game that went into overtime, and this was a game of runs, and it was almost annoying that the way the runs worked. But Duke comes out hot. They go up 4-zip. Manown, Smith, and Lowry scored 2 of them. Manown, Smith, and then Lowry had 2 over that stretch. Then it's Notre Dame's turn. They come out. They go on a 4-goal run. Willits scores the first on the fourth. Garnsey scored a highlight reel goal, his first of the day, tiptoeing one into the goal on a really excellent, just a great dodge, a bonkers dodge. And then Jacobois, he scored one of those 4 over that stretch. And then, so that's 4-4 here, and things are looking good again. Duke then goes on another run. Once again, I'm thinking, oh, this is it. This is the run. Duke goes, they score 3 unanswered. Nakai Montgomery goes 1 and 1 over that stretch. Then it was Notre Dame's turn. Boom, 3 more out of Notre Dame. Garnsey scores 2 of those 3. Once again, both highlight reel goals. One of them a sick dive from up the right side, flipped it in, backhanded. It was just beautiful. And that knots things up again at 7-up here this time. And then once again, Duke's turn. 3-goal run, 10-7 lead, Quigley, Manown, and Carpenter. And then, we had some goals exchanged. Notre Dame, Duke exchange goals. Hallenbeck off a fast break from Timmy Phillips, and then Carpenter scores one from Seau. So we are back to 11-8, I think, here at this point. And then Notre Dame scores 4 straight, and they actually took their first lead off back-to-back goals by Brian Costabile. Garnsey went 1 and 1 over that stretch, and Costabile scored 2 goals over that stretch, giving Notre Dame their first lead of the game. That was a huge turning point in this game, as Duke kept having an answer to everything that Notre Dame had thrown at them, and except for this time, and Notre Dame takes the lead. But then Duke decides, we're going to have our game of runs here. They score the next 2 to take the lead back 13-12. Brian Willits tied it on a sweet play. Garnsey fed Willits on the Garnsey was on the crease on a man-up play. Ball comes in from out top. They hit Garnsey. Garnsey sees that Willits all by himself on goal line extended and just boots it right down to Willits on the crease. Willits has a little bit of time and then sticks one near pipe. Really, really nice finish by Willits, actually. So it's OT. We're going another game, second game of the weekend, second game of that first day is going to OT. Duke won the OT faceoff. They got a couple shots off and, missed the cage. I think Manown missed one wide. Joe Robertson dodges with the shot clock running out on their first possession in overtime. Joe Robertson dodges up the left side from behind, takes an awkward shot, kind of off balance. It's slow, almost a change up, takes a odd bounce and then scores it. And Schmidt was insanely upset. Tough shot to let go in overtime to lose the game and to end your season. But that's the ball game. Robertson scored a really nice goal. And, Duke does it again here. And that's my game. I got this one wrong here. I picked Notre Dame in overtime. I was right that it did go to overtime, but it was Duke that came out here. Garnsey played off the chain, 4 goals, 2 assists. He caused matchup problems all day for Duke, and I was surprised. He's almost impossible to game plan for. Both Van Raphorst and Giles Harris took shots at him, and Garnsey went to the rack on both of them. I'm not sure if he scored on them, but he made both of them look silly at times. Nakai Montgomery's evolution as a player just continues to improve. The kid's become legitimately cerebral to the point where he's dodging and he's picking his spots on the field to dodge from, and then he's hitting guys. He goes for a goal with 4 helpers. That was big. He's learning to manipulate the defenses, and that's huge in his evolution. He's going to be huge moving forward here. He's kind of their spring legend here is what's happening. He had an amazing playoff run last year, and he's doing it again, and Duke needs for him to do it again. Duke held Costabile in check for 3 quarters. He only had an assist through 3 quarters, but then he goes 2-1 over the 4th quarter, which was what helped Notre Dame get their first lead and force overtime in this. Schmidt, he made 3 really nice saves over the 4th quarter to help Notre Dame chip back and not let Duke bury them in regulation, and that was pretty big. So 3 nice saves over the 4th. That was a 5-2 stretch where Notre Dame outscored Duke 5-2 over that stretch. So without those saves, Notre Dame does not force overtime. So Schmidt did play a hell of a game. This wasn't a weekend for goalies for sure, but it doesn't mean that the goalies didn't play well. It's just the offensive firepower in all of the games this weekend was off the charts. Great 50-50 battle at the faceoff dot between Leonard and Stein. They pretty much split for the most part, and so that didn't really play in the game overall. Both guys did well. Players of the game: Montgomery 1-4, CJ Carpenter for Duke 3-1, Joe Robertson for Duke 3 goals. For Notre Dame, Garnsey 4-2, Costabile 2-2, and Brian Willits 3 goals. The game was like the crazy girlfriend that we all had in high school that was just all over the place. One day she was awesome, the next day she was a nut job. High on emotion and excitement, just like all of our high school girlfriends, and just enough scoring to keep things rolling. But despite all the scoring in the first 2 games this day, there was defense played, and there was some good defense played. There was some good goalkeeping. So all weekend the games were offensive, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't defense played. I've seen a lot of people talk about it like that, and I don't think that's the case. So Duke, UVA. We have an ACC semifinal on one side of the bracket. I will make predictions on Thursday for these games here, but I think that Duke is just going to have to play more consistent because this isn't going to fly against Virginia, I don't think. And Virginia, like I said, they just need more Dox Aitken, and they need to continue to hustle and play solid for 60 minutes. We move on to today's games. We have Pat Spencer rocking it out like crazy against Penn State. Number 8, Loyola against number 1, Penn State. Spencer proved that he's the alpha amongst alphas, for sure. He puts up 6 goals and 5 assists in this game. He played off the charts all day. He bullied his way to all of those points for certain. But that 11 points just isn't enough, as Penn State still beats them 21-14. This is the only not close game of the tournament of the weekend. But it was still, don't let the score fool you. It was a great game. Mac O'Keefe, he goes for 9 goals on the day. That kid, I'm telling you, he's the best off-ball attackman in the country. The kid can score goals from all over, and he doesn't stick corners all the time. He puts the ball where the ball needs to be. He has an uncanny ability at putting the ball past the goalie. He doesn't shoot the lacrosse ball. He shoots lacrosse balls around goalkeepers. So I love Mac O'Keefe's game. He goes for 9 goals. Grant Ament, 1-8. It was an easy 1-8. I hate saying this about Ament, but a lot of his assists are just like the last assist that he had to O'Keefe was all Ament literally just stood in place. O'Keefe set a pick, kind of rolled off his own pick that he had set and got himself open. Ament hits him and he scores. So I marvel at Penn State's ability to just make offense look so easy. They do their fair share of dodging and creating, but a lot of their off-ball scheming is just great, or these guys are just great at getting open because they make a lot of defense. It makes a lot of teams look like they're playing really bad defense, and maybe that's part of the case, but why? It can't be all the time. Penn State just shreds people off ball all the time. And it's not always a failure of the defense. I think a lot of credit just have to go to guys like O'Keefe that are just incredible off ball players and just know where to be on the field to get open and get their hands free and get shots off. Penn State scored all over the place. They lit it up all over. I'll go through here in a bit all the guys that scored goals for them. Arceri was key, 22 of 36 faceoffs over Loyola's Bailey Savio. Savio played good last weekend, not so much against Arceri today. Arceri is going to be key here in this next matchup against Yale. So key players: Spencer goes for 6 goals, 5 assists. Loyola, usual suspects were kind of quiet. Duffy, Olmsted, and Wigley all put up 3 goals. Scanlon only had a goal, so he was quiet on the day. Grant Ament, 1 and 8. O'Keefe, 9 goals. Jack Kelly had a big day for Penn State, 4 goals and an assist. So great game. Just too much Penn State for Loyola in the end. Stover actually put up, Jacob Stover put up a good effort in cage for Loyola in his final game of his career, but it's just Penn State's filthy, and it's just tough to play against them for 60 minutes is really what it comes down to. The final game of the weekend, another freaking overtime battle. Number 5, Yale, 19, number 4, Penn, 18. Yale, TD Ierlan and Yale get revenge on Kyle Gallagher and Penn, and they edge this one out in overtime. It didn't disappoint either. The face-off battle between Gallagher and Ierlan was incredible. TD was 22 of 40, but more importantly, he controlled the face-off draws that he won. He got those to the offensive end of the field, and they turned into offensive possessions for Yale. That was the big difference in this game compared to past games. They caused him to turn the ball over a lot, even after he won draws in the first 2 meetings, and he did not do that today. He took care of the ball. Gallagher was 19 of 40, nothing to hang your head about there. He actually had a goal as well. Gallagher did. Ierlan had no points. Yale did a good job of limiting Penn's transition. It doesn't sound like it, 19-18 in overtime. It doesn't sound like a whole lot of defense was played, but Yale, all things considered, did a good job of slowing down Penn's offense, because Penn is deadly on offense, and they got a fair amount of possessions out of this. So Yale needed to do something on to kind of slow them down and to take a little bit of their game away, and I think they did a good job there in transition. A lot of 6-on-6 goals over the course of this game. Jack Starr, rough day. Still gets the win in cage, but Reed Junkin, he stood on his head. Granted, he gave up 19 goals, but he faced 33 shots, made 14 saves. So Reed Junkin, 4-year starter for Penn, has a great career, had a great game. One thing I was surprised about, Simon Matthias on a couple occasions made Chris Fake look silly. Early in the game specifically, he had a 3-goal, 2-assist day. Matthias looked great, one of the most underrated attackmen in the country. They kept saying that in the telecast, and I have to agree. I've seen Penn play a lot, and Matthias is incredible. And they had talked about how he's not necessarily, you don't always see it in the stat sheets, but I saw him being incredible in all the games I watched Penn play on the stat sheet, on top of it here. Yale edged Penn in all of the key categories. Faceoffs, 22-19. Ground balls, 35-28. 1 less turnover, 7 more shots on goal. Yale, they played a solid game from start to finish. It started with Ierlan, but they finished it in all areas. Jackson Morrill, 4 goals, 3 assists. That was the game they needed him to play. They needed him to be the alpha in this game, and he was. Lucas Kotler, 4 goals and an assist for Yale. Brandow, not scoring goals, but 1 and 3 for Yale. Matt Brandow was. Simon Matthias, 3 and 2, like I said. Bartolo and Lully. Bartolo's a big boy for Penn. He's a nice-looking lacrosse player. He goes for 3 and 1. Lully also. And then Dunn and Goldner, they each go for 3 goals each. In closing, it was a great game, start to finish, tons of offense. Not terrible on defense. There was some defensive highlights too, but Penn State's just got a tough draw. Penn State's going to be a tough draw for Yale here. But oddly enough, Yale... I can't remember here now. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Did Yale beat Penn State, or did Penn State beat Yale? I want to say that Yale gave Penn State their only loss of the game, or year so far. Yes, that is true. And I want to say that TD Ierlan murked Gerard Arceri in that game. One thing I don't think we'll see this time is I don't think we'll see Ierlan completely murk Arceri like he did last time. And I think that, I don't know. It's going to be a tough game. I actually thought Loyola at one point during the game was going to have a good shot against Yale, against Penn State. Didn't work out that way. Yale, if anybody can beat Penn State, it's going to be Yale. I actually liked Penn's chances also, but I think that this is where Penn State got screwed in their bracket. I think they have the tougher game here in the semis than, say, Virginia or Duke. Either of them do. I mean, you got to play Penn or Yale. Teams that can control the face-off X like that, and Yale and TD Ierlan, they're going to control the face-off X. So I think that's a rough draw. And if any, like I said, that Kyle Gallagher was TD Ierlan's kryptonite, I think Yale is obviously Penn State's kryptonite. And in terms of just limiting their possessions, nobody can do that like Yale can. That's going to be it, though. I think I kind of ran a little bit long here. We will probably put up a couple more short shows here over the next day or two, so be sure to check back. If you want to support us, as always, share this video, like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to get some swag, go to LaxFactor.com/. shop or just laxfactor.com, that works too. If you want a shot at winning the penny, this is from tribelacrosse.com. You can go and check out all their pennies and their shorts and their t-shirts at tribelacrosse.com. But if you want to win this one, we're going to announce the winner on Thursday. Just comment down below, make it thoughtful. Don't say I'm the first or whatever. It has to be a legit comment about the games to be played or the games that were just played. And as always, thank you for watching. Best of luck to everyone this week. Enjoy.